Alright guys, Dokkan time again, and today we're going to be doing a how-to build for the newly Super EZA'd Super Extreme Z Awakened STR BROLY. So, STR BROLY is a very old unit, arguably one of the oldest units in the game from frickin' 2015. His EZA came out in 2017 when EZAs were introduced, and now in the year of 2024, he has finally received a Super EZA. I would say his Super EZA is good. Could be better. Could be worse. I think it's okay. I am not overwhelmed by it. I think with a little bit of key wording, he could have been much better. Or, yeah. But anyways. So, on the right side of the screen, as per usual, you can see that there's a 55% build right there. Let's go over the builds real quick, and then we'll get into the kit and defense. So as far as like a suggestion for a 55%, just like the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I do have to mention that this is a unit that has older stat gains. And by what I mean by that is like this unit can have very large amounts of stat improvements. So a single dupe does take you very, very, very far. And a 55% build will be very underwhelming by comparison of even just a dupe or two. So I can't really stress enough that when I talk about the 55% build, that you understand that you're waiting to use this kind of build, you know, later on. So, anyways, so what you see on the screen is a level 4 additional and a level 3 dodge, and that's because this unit does have special equips, and by special equips, I do mean like this unit will have special equips that you can acquire, that you can get through means of, I believe, the crystals in the game. Currently, at the moment, before the actual Super EZA has released in game, so I do apologize. But this is the equips I would suggest going for on the screen of what you can see. I will be making a video for the Crystal Guide Part 2. I just have to wait to get this all in there. But as an early little, as an early little release of this at the moment, I would highly suggest you grab the level 5 additional and level 3 crit gold orb. I would suggest you grab the level 4 additional and level 2 defense equip silver. And then I would just suggest grabbing any of the 3 bronze, all of them actually. Primarily the dodge and then the defense orb, but go ahead and go for grab the damage orb as well, just to make sure that you have it for later if you so choose to switch it up. BROLY is a unit that can very much be, in his own right, he can be an attacker, he can be slightly tanky, not super tanky, but he can also be a supportive unit. So when I suggest that you give him dodge or defense, it's really up to a player's choice. So these are with those special equips. You can re-equip them at any point in time or take them off. I will mention, though, that ideally, this BROLY should be having additional. So for future building, if you are going to build him towards the fact that you'll get dupes, it would be wise to give him additionals primarily. It's entirely up to you if you want to focus additionals like this. I don't think that it's necessary at 55%. As I said before, 55% is pretty underwhelming. So one of the two choices, either just the special equips, or, you know, throw in some infinite requips for like a level 7 additional or dodge and see how you feel about it. But either way, his actual full like build is going to be primarily additional and dodge. It's one of the two. It's a focus of either or. There's no reason to give him crit. He has built-in crit, as every Super Extreme Z Awakening unit has been given thus far. Moving forward, I still would suggest, you know, building, if you're going to build ahead of time, I would suggest avoiding crit for the time being until we see a Super Extreme Z Awakening that doesn't give the kit built-in crit. But this BROLY has built-in crit, so I don't see any reason to move forward with giving him crit. So it's entirely up to player choice if you want to give him additional or dodge. Now, as far as his roll tips go, it's the same exact thing as like the int Z BROLY. His best leader skill is going to be under one of the Carnival or the Dokkan Fest BROLY. And his best partners are going to be he, himself, and I. Or him. His best slot positions are going to be 2 and 3. And 2 is primarily going to be for if you want to do some damage with him, build his passive up. And then slot 3 is primarily going to be there for specifically if you want to float him. Because technically speaking, this guy is a support unit. So, I'm just going to go ahead and have this floating in the background where you can go ahead and see the different build choices, see the roll tips as it goes, and we will move on with this kit. So, after he Extreme Z Awakenings, he does have several different 200% leads. I only suggest the BROLY teams because that's where he has the best synergy. Moving on to his kit, he has no leader skill, basically. He does still keep his original super attack, which is just attack all enemies and raise super attack by 3 turns. I will say that arguably this BROLY could be a new world tournament unit, and I think you should take that into consideration after he has super extreme Z Awakened, because he super attacks all enemies, he can actually do some serious good damage. His super attack is actually very quick. I don't think it's faster than just popping active on my junior, but it is something to consider. Key plus 2, attack and defense 200, plus an additional attack and defense 150 when attacking, plus an additional attack and defense plus 30% up to 150, and reduces damage received by 10 up to 50 with each super attack performed. After 5 attacks, you will be fully built up, and that is after 5 super attacks. Normals will not boost him. Randomly changes key sphere of a certain type to rainbow key sphere when there is another planetary destruction or pure science category ally attacking in the same turn. Ideally, there should be never a time where you're running this BROLY and he doesn't have that. Super class allies key plus 1 attack and attack plus 10%, and extreme class allies key plus 1 attack and defense plus 20% per rainbow key sphere obtained. This is a very big key wording here. Per rainbow key sphere with no cap. Meaning, if you collect two rainbow key spheres, extreme class allies will have key plus 2 and attack and defense plus 40%. If you collect 3 rainbow key spheres, it'll be attack and defense plus 60%. If it's 4 rainbow key spheres, 80%. So, this is why I go back to saying that this is technically a supportive unit, and you can definitely build him as such and focus more on dodge rather than the additional and just float him off or protect him. It's entirely up to you. But you can definitely consider the fact that he is a supportive unit that can be up to 60 or 80% support on a turn, which can be very insane. I am curious if it does boost him, but I don't know. Anyways, chance of performing crit plus 50% and launches an additional super attack for every 2 rainbow key spheres obtained. So it is as it sounds, it is not capped. So if you acquire 4 rainbow key spheres, you will auto crit. And if you will also get 2 additional super attacks. So that is something to keep in mind. Along with the fact that he does technically stack attack for 3 turns. This combined with a triple quad super could be very insane. It could actually lead him to doing some massive amounts of damage. But the problem is that it's getting those attacks off. Because he's not a slot 1 unit, and he needs to get those super attacks off to build. He is on all the same categories as the Int Z BROLY. He's going to primarily link with all Z BROLYs and a couple other random BROLYs. The interesting thing about his kit is that he has the Hardened Grudge link, which is actually pretty good, but is only shared by BROLY and Paragus. So you could have some interesting turns where you have the free-to-play Paragus on a team, but that's about it. So let's go over his defense calculations finally. I've chosen to go with Rocket Lizard Luke over here. He has different calculations, and it's based on the wording of the unit. This should be the primarily updated range of what you should be expecting out of this Broly. First turn attack, like 7 mil. Honestly, I've seen lower from people running private servers, but, you know, you can't really tell on private servers. You know, once he builds up fully, though, you know, once he builds up fully, that's when it's going to be something. And when he's fully built up, you know, you got a int or a super Broly domain. I mean, he can get some serious good damage. Not necessarily defense, though, unfortunately. His defense could be better. You know, 800k post-super defense with 50% damage reduction is nice. It means he can tank 1.6 million supers for double digits. But that means anything over a 1.6 million, you're just taking raw damage from. So, I mean, you know, if, let's say that you get super attacked by Beast Gohan, you might have type advantage, but because Beast Gohan does like 2.7 mil, you will still more than likely die or take your entire HP bar out. It's one of the two. So it is something to keep in mind that he cannot survive supers outside of potentially type advantage situations, even with max 50% damage reduction, and yes, even with orbs in this case, because this is taking into consideration of a domain. So that is something to keep in mind about. But I think that's actually pretty much going to be it. Broly is pretty straightforward. You know, he's an AoE damage dealing supportive unit. I do kind of stand by my thought process of utilizing him as a supportive unit, but he is very orb hungry with those rainbow key spheres in order to get the supportiveness of it. So please do tell me how you plan to build this STR Broly Super EZA. Are you going to build him for damage, give him some primarily additional, or are you going to go for dodge and primarily try to use him as a supportive unit, or are you just going to kind of go somewhere in the middle? I'm very curious to know. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good day and a good night.